Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. It's fascinating how much of our lives are actually driven by forces we're not even fully aware of.
Right. It's like we're operated on autopilot so much of the time.
Exactly. And that's what we're really going to explore today, this whole idea of the subconscious mind and how it shapes our reality. But get this, we're approaching it from a totally unique angle.
We're tapping into some seriously ancient wisdom here.
That's right. We're drawing from Buddhist philosophy and psychology, motivational speaking and inspirational guidance, even some philosophical perspectives.
It's kind of like weaving together this tapestry of understanding.
Totally.
Yeah.
And our mission today is to really get to the heart of how this subconscious mind works, how it's programmed, and how, get this, we can actually reprogram it.
Like rewriting the code of our inner world.
Exactly. So let's dive right in. Now, Buddhist philosophy has this fascinating concept called samskara.
It's not just memory, it's deeper than that. Imagine it like, well, let's say you have a dirt path, and every time you walk it, it becomes more defined.
Ah, okay, I see. So samskaras are like these well-worn paths in our minds, carved by our experiences and emotions.
Right, and these paths, these samskaras, they actually become like these invisible scripts that are constantly running in the background, and they're shaping our patterns in life, our relationships, our career choices, even our self-worth.
So it's not just random chance that we keep running into similar challenges or making the same kinds of mistakes.
Not necessarily. It could be these subconscious programs, these old scripts playing out over and over again.
This is getting really interesting. So how do we end up with these programs in the first place?
Think about it. From the moment we're born, we're like these little sponges soaking up everything around us. Our parents, our teachers, the media, society at large. They're all feeding us messages, both consciously and unconsciously.
Okay, so all these external influences are essentially shaping our initial understanding of the world and ourselves.
Right, and some of these messages, they can become these deeply embedded beliefs, even if they're not serving us.
Can you give an example of that?
Absolutely. Let's say a child grows up hearing, money is the root of all evil.
Oh, wow.
Now, as an adult, they might consciously desire financial abundance, but subconsciously, they might be sabotaging their own efforts because of that ingrained belief.
Like they're working against themselves without even realizing it?
Exactly. Or someone who constantly heard that they weren't good enough might struggle with self-sabotage or imposter syndrome even when they achieve great things.
Wow. I'm starting to see how these subconscious patterns can be so powerful. One of our sources uses a really cool analogy here.
Oh yeah, what's that?
They compare the subconscious mind to a riverbed. And over time, the flow of water, which represents our thoughts and actions, carves a specific path.
Makes sense. So are they saying we're stuck with that path forever?
Not at all.
Yeah.
They're saying if we want to change the course of the river, we can't just force the water in a new direction. We have to address those underlying rocks and stones, those subconscious beliefs and patterns that are shaping the flow.
Interesting. So where do we even begin?
Well, according to Buddhist teachings, the most essential first step is awareness. The Buddha said that suffering arises from ignorance.
Ignorance meaning.
Ignorance of the true nature of reality. So if we're unaware of the very beliefs and patterns that are driving our experiences, we can't possibly change them.
Okay, so we need to bring those subconscious programs into the light of conscious awareness.
Exactly. And that's where Vipassana meditation comes in.
That's a specific type of Buddhist meditation, right?
Yeah. And our sources describe it as a powerful tool for developing this awareness. It's about learning to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment.
So instead of getting swept away by our thoughts and feelings, we learn to just witness them.
Precisely. And we begin to see them not as these solid, unchanging truths about ourselves, but rather as transient phenomena.
Like waves passing on the surface of the ocean.
Exactly. And as we cultivate this awareness, we create a space, a gap between ourselves and our automatic reactions.
Ah, I see. And that space, that gap, is where the possibility for transformation opens up.
That's it. And once we have that space, we can start to engage in some honest self-inquiry. Asking ourselves, what are the most common thoughts that keep popping up in my mind? Are they empowering me or are they holding me back?
Yeah, and maybe even exploring. Where did these beliefs come from? Are they really mine, or are they something I picked up along the way?
Exactly. It's like we're shining a light into a dimly lit room, and suddenly we can see all the mental furniture that's been there all along, silently influencing us.
And once we see it, we can start to rearrange it. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Our sources connect this ancient Buddhist wisdom to something that's become a hot topic in modern science.
Neuroplasticity.
You got it. And it's basically this incredible ability of the brain to change and adapt throughout our lives.
So it's not true that we're stuck with the brain we're born with.
Not at all. Our brains are constantly rewiring themselves based on our experiences and our thoughts.
So that means that if we're constantly thinking negative, self-critical thoughts, we're actually strengthening those neural pathways.
Unfortunately, yes. But the good news is, it also works in the opposite direction. If we consciously choose to cultivate positive, empowering thoughts, we can literally rewire our brains for the better.
And this is where practices like affirmations, visualization, and meditation come into play.
Right, these aren't just woo-woo new age concepts. They're actually tools that can help us physically reshape our brains and reprogram our subconscious minds.
Let's talk about affirmations specifically. In Buddhist practice, there's this idea of using mantras.
Sacred sounds or phrases that are repeated over and over to cultivate specific qualities or states of mind.
Exactly. And it turns out there's a scientific basis for why this works.
It has to do with a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS.
And what does the RAS do?
Think of it like a filter. It's constantly scanning our environment and filtering information based on what we deem important.
Okay.
So when we repeat affirmations, especially with strong emotion, we're essentially programming our RAS to focus on and seek out evidence that supports those beliefs.
So if I keep telling myself I am abundant, my RAS is going to start looking for and noticing evidence of abundance in my life.
Exactly. It's like we're training our brains to perceive reality through a new lens.
Our sources share a really powerful story to illustrate this. Have you heard of the Buddhist monk Ajahn Kema?
I don't think so.
Well, early in his monastic life, he struggled intensely with self-doubt.
And how did he overcome that?
The teacher gave him a really simple practice. Every morning, he was to sit by a lake and whisper to his reflection, "I am already free."
I am already free.
Yeah. And at first, he was super skeptical. He didn't believe it at all. But he committed to doing it every day for 100 days.
What happened?
Gradually, he started to notice a shift. His mind became calmer. He felt more peaceful. And by the end of those 100 days, he had a profound realization. His experience of reality had transformed, not because his external circumstances had changed, but because his internal world had been reprogrammed.
That's incredible. So by consistently repeating that affirmation, he actually started to believe it, and his reality shifted to reflect that belief.
Precisely. And it shows how powerful something as simple as an affirmation can be when practiced consistently.
Do our sources give any guidance on how we can start to apply this in our own lives?
Absolutely. They offer a 5-step exercise. First, identify a limiting belief you want to change. It could be something like, "I'm not creative," or "I'm not worthy of love."
Okay, so first we pinpoint the negative belief.
Right. Then, step 2 is to flip that script and create a new, empowering belief. For example, "I am overflowing with creativity," or "I am worthy of deep, fulfilling love."
I love that. So we replace the negative with its positive counterpart.
Exactly. And step 3 is super important. We need to engage our emotions when we repeat this new belief. It's not enough to just say the words. We need to really feel them.
Like we're embodying that new belief in this very moment.
Yeah. And then step 4 is to practice repetition and visualization. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself living as if that new belief is already true.
And the final step.
It's all about inspired action. What actions can we take, however small, that are aligned with that new belief?
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. And remember, consistency is key, just like with Ajahn Kema's story. The more we repeat and embody these new beliefs, the more deeply they become ingrained in our subconscious.
And that leads us to this really fascinating idea of using rituals for subconscious transformation.
Rituals?
Yeah. Our sources are saying that true transformation often happens gradually through these conscious, repeated acts that essentially imprint new truths onto our subconscious minds. And they actually connect this ancient Buddhist practice of using rituals to modern neuroscience.
Oh, wow. How so?
Well, neuroscience has shown that repetition and the use of symbolism can strengthen specific neural pathways, making certain thoughts and behaviors more automatic.
Okay, so by engaging in these rituals, we're essentially rewiring our brains for the change we want to see.
Exactly. And Buddhist philosophy has recognized the power of ritual for centuries. It's a way to bridge the gap between our conscious intentions and our subconscious programming.
Our sources emphasize 3 key elements that make rituals effective.
Lay it on me.
Repetition. Because consistency reinforces those neural pathways. Symbolism, because the subconscious mind often understands things on a symbolic level.
And what's the third?
Emotion. When we infuse our rituals with genuine feeling, they create a much stronger imprint on our subconscious.
So it's not enough to just go through the motions. We got to bring our heart into it.
Exactly. And our sources introduce a really powerful Buddhist-inspired ritual called the Ritual of the Empty Cup.
Tell me more.
It's based on the principle of Shoshin, which means beginner's mind.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
It's about approaching each moment with openness and a willingness to let go of preconceived notions, right?
Exactly. And the Ritual of the Empty Cup is about creating that emptiness in our minds so that we can fill it with new possibilities.
I like that. So how does it work?
It has two parts. The first is called the morning reset.
Okay.
Each morning you take a cup, like your coffee cup, and as you pour out the liquid, you visualize yourself releasing all the thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that no longer serve you.
So it's a symbolic act of letting go.
Right. And as you do this, you whisper the affirmation, I release what no longer serves me.
I love that.
Yeah.
What about the second part?
That's the evening imprint. Before bed, you refill the same cup with fresh water. Hold it close to your heart, close your eyes, and whisper an affirmation that embodies the new belief you want to cultivate. It could be something like, I am peaceful and serene, or I am overflowing with abundance.
Powerful.
Then you slowly drink the water, imagining the essence of those words dissolving into your being.
It's interesting, this idea of using water. There's an ancient belief that water has memory and can hold intention.
You know, our sources even mention the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, who studied how words and intentions can actually affect the molecular structure of water crystals. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. So by whispering our affirmations into the water and drinking it, we're symbolically and maybe even energetically imprinting those beliefs into our subconscious.
I'm starting to see how powerful rituals can be. Our sources share another inspiring story here.
Oh, right. It's about Tenzin, a former soldier who became a monk.
Okay.
He was deeply affected by his experiences in war and carried a lot of anger and fear.
Makes sense.
One day, he met a wise Buddhist master who gave him a simple bowl of water. The master told him, this is your mind. When it's agitated, it's cloudy. Be still like the water and clarity will return.
So what did Tenzin do?
He started practicing stillness every day, just sitting quietly and focusing on the bowl of water. Over time, his mind began to calm down. He became more peaceful. He was essentially rewiring his subconscious, replacing those patterns of fear and anger with peace and tranquility.
That's such a beautiful example of how even the simplest ritual can be incredibly transformative. And it brings up an important point. Our sources say that we're all engaging in subconscious rituals every day, whether we realize it or not.
You mean like our daily routine?
Exactly. Think about it. Reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, mindlessly scrolling through social media, complaining about traffic. These are all rituals that reinforce certain neural pathways and patterns in our subconscious.
So we're essentially programming our minds without even realizing it.
And the key takeaway here is that we have a choice. We can become conscious of these unconscious rituals and start to replace them with more empowering ones, rituals that align with the future we want to create.
And our sources emphasize that we need to be patient and trust the process. Just like a seed needs time to grow, our subconscious mind needs time to integrate these new programs.
So consistency and persistence are key.
Absolutely. Now, even if we have all the knowledge and we practice our rituals diligently, our sources say there's one more crucial ingredient for true and lasting transformation.
And what's that?
Presence.
I'm intrigued.
It's the missing link that often separates intellectual understanding from embodied change. You know, you can know something in your head, but if you're not fully present, it won't truly integrate into your being.
That makes sense. They use a really powerful analogy to explain this.
Right, the meditating monk whose mind is racing. Outwardly, it might look like they're deep in meditation, but if their inner world is full of distractions, are they truly present?
Not really. They're just going through the motions, and our sources say this is how many of us live our lives. We're on autopilot, sleepwalking through our days, disconnected from the present moment.
And they emphasize that the subconscious mind isn't just shaped by the actions we take, but by the quality of our awareness while we're taking those actions. So even if we're repeating affirmations or doing our rituals, if we're not present, they won't be as effective.
So we got to bring our full attention and awareness to everything we do.
Exactly. And this brings us to the Buddhist concept of sati, which is often translated as mindfulness. It's not just about being aware, it's about being fully immersed in the present moment.
Like a total absorption in the now.
Yes. And when we're truly present, our subconscious minds become incredibly receptive to new imprints.
So even a single moment of genuine presence can be transformative.
Our sources offer 3 simple but powerful techniques for cultivating presence.
I'm all ears.
The first is called the practice of one breath. It's as simple as it sounds. Each day, take one conscious breath. Really feel the air coming in, filling your lungs, and then slowly releasing it.
Seems almost too simple. How does that help?
It's like hitting a pause button on the autopilot of our minds. It's a mini meditation that allows us to step out of the constant stream of thoughts and connect with the present moment.
And the more we do it, the more present we become throughout our day.
Exactly. The second technique is called the mirror of truth. Every morning, stand in front of a mirror, look into your own eyes, and ask yourself, who am I today?
Interesting. It's a way of challenging our fixed sense of self.
Right. And instead of just thinking your name or your usual labels, try saying, I am limitless potential. I am a new being today.
I love that.
It's a way of signaling to your subconscious that you're open to change and transformation.
And the third technique?
It's called walking as the Buddha walks.
I'm curious.
It emphasizes the connection between our physical movements and our internal state.
I could see that. You can often tell how someone is feeling by the way they walk.
Right. And the amazing thing is, it works the other way around too. If we consciously choose to walk with awareness and intention, embodying the feeling of the person we want to be, it sends a powerful message to our subconscious minds.
So if I want to feel more confident, I should walk like I already feel confident.
Precisely. And all of these practices ultimately lead us to what our sources call the grand realization.
Which is?
That we are not trying to become someone new, we're simply remembering our true nature.
Ah, that's beautiful.
It's like our minds are a clear sky that's been temporarily obscured by clouds. And the practice of presence is about gently clearing away those clouds, revealing the inherent freedom and clarity that's always been there.
So it's not about adding something new, it's about removing what's blocking our true essence.
Exactly. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, our sources leave us with a really powerful question. Now that you have this knowledge, what will you do with it?
It's easy to just hear this information and then slip back into our old patterns, but the real challenge is to take action.
To commit to these practices.
Yeah.
To incorporating them into our daily lives.
Even if it's just starting with one conscious breath or taking a moment to look in the mirror with fresh awareness, these seemingly small steps can lead to profound transformation.
Because they're the keys that unlock the kingdom of our own minds. They're the doorway to our true selves. And remember, you were never broken, you were never trapped. You have always had the power to be the master of your own mind. This deep dive has simply been about remembering that truth.
And in the days ahead, as you go about your life, pay attention to your thoughts, your reactions. Notice when those old scripts are running, and in each moment, remember that you have a choice. You can choose to keep running those old programs, or you can choose to rewrite them.
Because true freedom lies not just in understanding these concepts, but in embodying them, in living them. So my question for you is this. Now that you know you are the architect of your own reality, what kind of world will you build?
What seeds will you plant in the garden of your mind?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, be well and be present.
Take care, everyone.
Bye for now.